Councilman Citro, we can't hear you if you've already begun the pledge.
Thank you very much. I've asked for the Pledge of Allegiance, so let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. That is going to be the phrase that all of these virtual meetings are going to be remembered by, and that is, you're muted.
Yeah.
I would like to thank everybody for being here today. We are in a position where we can no longer take motions or vote on in this virtual world that we're living in right now. So what I'm going to ask, is there anyone out there that would like to make recommendations for any type of substitutions or alterations to the minutes from our last meeting? If so, please speak up now or raise your hand on our computer meeting, on our virtual meeting.
That's wrong.
Is there anybody that would like to make additions or deletions to last month's meeting minutes? Are you seeing anything, Ms. Silva?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, and I'll just remind everybody, it says June because we recessed in July. I'm getting a few more members moved over to full status so they can participate in the meeting.
Okay, I'm hoping that everybody is hearing my request.
Yep, okay. And then I will just acknowledge for the recording that public comment, I did not receive any by email or Facebook, and I don't see anyone in the attendees list that's requested to speak, so we can move on. And then I believe you wanted roll call next.
Yes, if we could have a roll call, just so we can make sure we did record on who is at this meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilman Citro.
Yes, here.
Cal Hardy. Christine Crespo. I'm sorry, Una Johnson. Oh, Christine is here.
And Una's here as well.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Julie Ham.
Mark Hudson for Julie Ham.
Thank you. Michael Marino.
Here.
Melissa Colazzo. Peter Cisnenko. David Hay.
Here.
Emily Hinsdale.
Here.
Karen Cashin.
Present.
Larry Josephson. Richard Rank. Karen Kress. Matthew Lewis.
Karen Kress is here.
She is? Okay.
Yeah, she's on. She's just not unmuted.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Matthew Lewis?
I'm here.
Thank you. Justin Willits?
Here. Here.
Roger Menendez?
Present.
Jason Jackman?
Here.
Catherine Coyle, I saw her. Arizona Jenkins? Don't see him. Carlos Ramirez?
Here.
Ray Mensa?
Sarah Hendricks for Raymond Mensa.
Thank you. Anna Quinones?
I'm here.
In the what?
Gus Ignis?
I'm just getting ready to.
Sandra
Okay,
Piccarelli? Matthew Pleasant?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy Coyle is here. We're having troubles getting her unmuted and moved and changed status. We've asked her to log back in a different way to see if we can't do something. Jason, it said she texted and said she says she's muted by the organizer. So I don't know if you can try to correspond with her that way and get that fixed. But she's present. All right. Okay. Okay, here we go. Roll it out.
All right, and our first status reports, we have a report from Hillsborough County Mobility. Is Katrina here?
I am. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm turning my webcam on. Just to let you all know, I am in the cubicle area of our office, so I apologize for any background noise. Lisa, is it possible for me to share my screen? I'm not seeing an option for that. Or if you would alternatively like to bring up the website, whatever is easier.
I'm going to make you a presenter.
Okay.
Because when I was messing with my computer earlier, I closed that. Well, wait, I might not have. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, let's see. Are you? I don't know which screen you're seeing, unfortunately.
Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I sent it to you. Did you get it? Oh, we see it.
Okay, you should be seeing the screen of my second monitor, hopefully not the first.
We're seeing the website.
Okay, perfect. Well, good morning again, everyone. My name is Katrina Corcoran. I'm a senior planner with the Planning Commission, and I am also the co-lead on the update of the mobility section of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. We have recently updated our project webpage for this text plan amendment, and we wanted to share this with you today, just a brief announcement to let you know that it's up. It may not come up if you go on our website and search. Our webmaster has let me know that the search is a little slow to update for this, but if you go to plans, plan amendments, and then unincorporated Hillsborough County, it should be the first section that pops up. Again, it is the mobility section. We have our project overview and scope for the update. We do have the draft language updated as of yesterday, which you can click here and it will pull up the draft language, as you can see here. And there, you are also able to submit public comments through September 30th, so please feel free to do that as well. We have our timeline, which you can see here. We've been working with Hillsborough County staff, Public Works, and HART on this language. We do have a couple of upcoming virtual public meetings, one on September 9th from 4 to 5 p.m. and one on September 23rd from 6 to 7 p.m., offering a couple of different times for busy schedules. And we will be presenting the section to the Planning Commission in a briefing on September 14th. And we have the BOCC workshop on September 28th. You can see some of our other public hearings here as well. If you'd like to sign up for email updates, you can do so here. Again, there are links to these virtual public meetings. We'd love to have you join us for those meetings. Future steps are listed here, as well as my contact information and my co-lead, which is Rich Clarendon of the TPO. We will be coming back later in about a month at your next meeting to give a full presentation, similar to what we will be giving at the virtual public meetings on this language. But for now, we wanted you to be aware that this is up. Feel free to explore. Let us know if you have any questions. And of course, please join us on September 9th and September 23rd if you're available. But that is it for me, unless anyone has any questions.
Is there any questions from Ms. Corcoran?
Katrina, would you just tell them a little bit about like why this might be relevant to livable roadways?
Yes, so the unincorporated Hillsborough County plan has been going through an update, a phased approach to the update. It was last updated in 2008, so currently it is the transportation element from 2008, so it is in need of an update. And this is related to you all just because we are doing an extensive rework of some of these policies. We're updating some of the language, adding in language around complete streets, Vision Zero, safety focus, equity, that sort of thing. And of course, you can see all of that in our language, but we thought you may be interested in the topics in the update and wanted you to be aware of what was going on.
Yes, there's an extensive complete street design guide that's a companion to this that is coming to our committee next month. So I think you guys are going to really like all the work that's been done by unincorporated county.
All right, thank you very much.
Is there any other, before you leave, just to make sure that no one else has any questions for Ms. Corcoran?
Mhm.
Is there anybody out there? Did we see anything in the chat room?
I do not see any additional chat about it or questions.
Ms. Corcoran, I thank you very, very much, and I look forward to seeing your report next month.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, do we have an FDOT representative for the Heist mobility study?
Yes.
Yes, my name's Craig Fox. I'm on.
I just sent you the presenter request.
Thank you.
Is my mic working? Just wanted to check before we start.
Yes, Justin.
What's, oh no, that's not the right screen. Sorry about that. Let's try this again. Oh. Okay, that's really weird. Let me try to get this. Oh,
Worst
there we
case,
go. Okay.
I've got it in case yours doesn't work.
All right, let's try this again. Oh.
Never fear, Lisa's here. Yay!
There
I
we
see
go.
it now.
All right, that was weird. All right, thank you, everybody. My name is Craig Fox. I'm PD&E Project Manager with the Florida Department of Transportation District 7. And we're here today along with Justin Willits with HART to present on the Heights Mobility Study Update. I'm not sure, is Cal on?
It wasn't a few minutes ago, but I can double check. He usually is. So.
He said he would be when I spoke to him yesterday, but if he isn't, I can jump in for his.
Okay, I'll see if he's having tech issues on my email.
Okay, that's no problem. We can go ahead and get started. So we're here to give an update on the Heights Mobility Study to the TPO committees. So just giving an overview of the project location and limits. It's located in the city of Tampa, and it's on Florida Avenue, also along Tampa Avenue. These roads are one-way pairs around the Tampa Heights in the northern downtown area. The study purpose is to provide safe and efficient mobility to complement the character of existing communities, balance the local regional travel needs, and provide mobility options for all mode users. The study focus is on the Fdot vital few, which includes safety, mobility, and innovation. On the safety side, one thing that I want to bring to everybody's attention, on the top left, we have a diagram along both corridors of the severe injury crash type. So these are only the crashes that involve severe injuries. As you can see, 42.3% of those crashes were angle crashes, which typically occur at intersections. The next highest was pedestrian crashes at 19.2%. And then followed up from that, we had fixed objects. So that's fixed objects is when a vehicle hits a fixed object, whether it be a building or a light pole or anything like that. And then the fourth most common severe injury crash types were the rear end crashes. So a couple of things we want to focus on. I'm sorry.
If anybody who's not speaking can please mute themselves, or so, Lisa, if you have somebody mute non-speakers.
Arizona and a couple other members just joined us, so I'll get them muted here. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So the safety focus involves speed management along the corridor, identifying that there's limited pedestrian crossing opportunities, and also resolving the sightline issues at unsignalized intersections. From a mobility angle, there are substandard walk-by facilities along the corridor, along with a high level of existing transit demand, and also potential for future premium transit, which we want to address. Right now, I'll turn it over to Justin to talk about the ridership stats.
Hey, I just lost audio. So Lisa, can you nod if you can hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry, just let me know, wave your hands frantically if something goes awry.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm Justin Willits, I'm with HART. I'm the Deputy Project Manager for the arterial BRT study. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about transit on the corridor as it exists, and then I can answer any questions later about the study itself. This slide, we really just wanted to show the existing demand on the corridor. We looked at ridership numbers from fall of 2019 to kind of demonstrate the number of trips we're doing during the peak hour. You can see Route 1, we carry anywhere from 40 to almost 90 trips during the peak hour with 4 buses an hour at 15-minute headways. Route 5 was at 30-minute headways, carrying about 15 to 30 people during the peak hour. Route 6 is now at 20-minute headways with 3 buses per hour, carrying anywhere from 13 to 60 some riders. And that total is sometimes as great as 180 people per hour. So that's a pretty good bang for your buck as far as transit's concerned. And what we really wanted to do with this slide is demonstrate the demand for transit on a corridor that is really oversized. A lot of us know there's 3 lanes, one way in each direction from the interstate, well, from downtown, but those are not the lanes we're really referring to as under capacity, basically from Scott and K to MLK, and actually even Osborne Violet, where the one-way pair goes back to a 2-way section. Those 3 lanes really don't actually need to be that big, so we're just demonstrating that there is a lot of demand for transit, so giving one of those lanes to transit, as we are proposing in the BRT study and part of the Heist mobility, is warranted based on existing demand, and also will work for a future premium transit concept. Next slide. Some of the coordination efforts you all are super familiar with. We're coordinating, longer term with the regional transit study that TBART is doing, but more specifically, the streetcar and the our BRT study are really kind of interlinked, particularly south of Palm, where we are planning to share the guideway. We've also incorporated some of the guideway elements and like the side of the street it would be on for the southbound trip into the guideway that we have proposed. And then on the right there, you see that the BRT project continues up Florida Avenue all the way past Waters and Bush to Linebaugh, where it crosses over to Nebraska and then travels Fowler to Bruce V. Downs. Next slide. Just a little refresher. It's probably been a while since most of you have seen this, but we started off with 17 different alternatives looking at Florida, Nebraska, and Fowler, and to see what was the best path. We had a large amount of different criteria that we evaluated, and the 3 that kind of floated to the top were Linebaugh, Palm, and Waters for where we would cross over from Florida to Nebraska. And Palm was eliminated due to the large amount of duplication with the existing Metro Rapid BRT Light, if you will, service on Nebraska Avenue. And then Linebaugh and Waters were kind of really close, but Linebaugh kind of just barely scored higher, but it was actually a little more consistent with some of the things we assumed about the corridor and redevelopment potential, particularly when you get north of the river. And then when we kind of revisited this with the TOD study, that kind of caught up to us. It started a little bit later, but it did kind of catch up. There was some delay for this project. We really kind of went and asked them to take a look at some of the parcel analysis, and it was consistent with the TOD study too. So we were really happy that we originally landed on Linebaugh and continued down that path. And now we are in phase 2 of the PD&E process for the BRT study. And I'll hand it back to Craig, I believe. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you, Justin.
And so the presenters know Cal Hardy was able to join us, in case that's important to know.
Thank you. So just want to recap the public engagement efforts, first starting with the Heist mobility study. There are 3 workshops made for the Heist mobility study, and those occurred between 2017 and 2019. There's also neighborhood walk audits, presentations to neighborhood associations, tabling events, and also online tools made available too. For the Heart Arterial BRT study, there were 2 workshops that were undertaken along with stakeholder advisory group meetings and technical advisory group meetings. Now, some of the results from the public engagement feedback are shown on the screen, with the most desired option being wider sidewalks, along with more bike lanes and routes, more pedestrian crossings, premium transit, and traffic calming. So all these were the top 5 most desired items identified within the study. So there's some short-term improvements that we're looking to undertake before we get to the larger project. And so on Florida Ave, and to the right I have some concepts. This is of a pedestrian crossing, or we call them an RRFB in the industry, a rapid rectangular flashing beacon. And then we're also proposing some new signalized intersections also. So at Wilder Avenue, Gideon's, Wilder Avenue, Idlewild, and Knollwood Street, there was traffic signals that are proposed in fiscal year 22. At Gideon's Ave, that's proposed, that's a pedestrian crossing that's proposed in fiscal year 22 also. Tampa Street, we have a signal on 7th Ave, and at Chelsea, also a proposed mid-block crosswalk also. On Nebraska Avenue, these are a little bit later on, and the reason being is that it involves a little more road work, so that's why it has to be a little more delayed, because it has to be more intensive design goes into it. But we're looking to have crosswalks at the different locations, and those are going to kick off in fiscal year 24, so from Idlewild all the way up to 11th Avenue. Some other short-term improvements we're considering are bicycle boulevards. And with these overall are just low stress alternatives to Florida and Tampa. So you can see on Ola Ave, it runs west parallel to Florida, and then Central Ave is on the east side of Florida and runs parallel to Florida also. Sorry, but Ola runs parallel to Tampa. And so Ola, those limits are from Palm Avenue to Broad Street. The design is in fiscal year 21 with construction funded in fiscal year 23. On Central Avenue, those limits are from north of Scott Street to Broad Street, and that design is scheduled a little bit later, starting in fiscal year 22, with construction beginning in fiscal year 2024. So this time I'd like to recap some of the alternatives that weren't carried forward, and just review the reasons why these alternatives weren't carried forward. So the first alternative that was not carried forward is a non-motorized alternative. And this involves wide sidewalks and a two-way bike facility along Tampa Street. As you can see from this exhibit, since it reduces the lanes just to 2 lanes in each direction, it would not be compatible with premium transit, because if you had premium transit in one of the lanes, it would basically mean you have a 3-lane facility that's going all the way down to a 1-lane, to effectively a 1-lane facility. So that this alternative was not carried forward. The second alternative that was not carried forward is a 2-way alternative, and this involved converting both Florida and Tampa into 2-way streets with a center 2-way left turn lane to support turns at strategic locations. This is also not compatible with premium transit, mainly because, as you can see from this concept, if you have premium transit running in a lane, it would basically just have to run with mixed traffic, or would take away a lane altogether, which would again give you the 1 lane in each direction scenario. This alternative also had the most significant impacts to automobile level of service, or LOS, and also the existing transit travel time. So the vehicles will be moving a lot slower, along with the transit vehicles also will be moving a lot slower. So for those reasons, this alternative was not carried forward. So now I'll review the preferred alternative. As shown on the screen, this is the proposed typical section, and it involved converting the general purpose lanes to exclusive transit lane, as shown by the red pavement in these lanes on the right side of the screen. It also provided wider sidewalks on Florida Ave and a shared use path on Tampa Street, which is shown to the left of the screen here. There's additional pedestrian crossings and intersection safety improvements that are also going to occur throughout the project. And I'd like to dig down into the benefits to the bike pedestrians and then to the transit. So first, beginning with the bicycles and pedestrians, of course, the wider sidewalks on Florida Ave and a shared use path on Tampa Street are a significant benefit to pedestrians. I also do want to note that there's going to be a 10-foot sidewalk on Florida Avenue from 26 to MLK. The other areas, just because of existing right-of-way restrictions, we can only go as wide as a 7.5-foot sidewalk on Florida Avenue. We're also looking to install new pedestrian crossings along with more intersection safety improvements. This also will provide more separation between automobile traffic and pedestrians. So if you're a pedestrian, let's say you're walking on Tampa Street, now instead of being right next to a general purpose travel lane, you then have a transit lane, which has less frequent vehicles coming through than you would, of course, on a general purpose lane. So it's much safer for the pedestrians. And also with a wider sidewalk, that does introduce a buffer between the pedestrians and also the vehicles on the street. This would also result in lower speeds, which improves overall safety and will enhance access to transit. Now, the traffic calming benefits, I kind of mentioned them before. So the lane repurposing does help to reduce speeds and increase traffic calming. We're also, you can kind of barely see it in this image here, there's a little bit of a raised concrete separator within that 3-foot buffer, both on Tampa Street and Florida Avenue in strategic locations. This raised concrete separator does a good job to really get that visual aspect of a narrow street, because you can change the street signs all you want. Generally, that doesn't actually result in lower speeds. You have to change the physical environment. This helps to change the physical environment of the roadway, which will also slow down vehicles more. And also more signals and pedestrian crossings just help to let the motor and public know that it's a more pedestrian friendly environment, and also will break up some of the high speed traffic going through the area. Now I'd like to cover some transit benefits. So of course, exclusive transit lane is a major benefit. This would also improve the grading of the entire region or the entire county with future projects, transit projects in the future. It would also provide space for enhanced bus stops with the wider sidewalks, and also new pedestrian crosswalks will enhance access to transit stops also. And this is consistent with HART BRT and streetcar extension plans also. So next thing I want to cover is the impacts to the general purpose traffic. So here, what I want to bring to everybody's attention is that this is a no build intersection level of service. So basically what this considers, and this is projected in 2045, what this is looking at is, what if we did nothing? So we didn't go forward with the project. We fast forward into 2045, what's the projected traffic looking like at select intersections? So you can see along Florida Avenue, starting from Tyler, you have C, level of service C. Scott Street, you're failing. Along Palm Avenue, that gets an F. And along with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, that gets an F also. In the southbound direction on Tampa Street, you'll see it's mostly C, level of service C, dropping down to as low as a D on Scott Street and the Scott Street intersection. Now I'm going to switch to the build scenario, and what that is basically if we build out the project and the alternative that I showed before, what's that going to do to the traffic? So this is 6-lane alternative with 3 lanes in each direction, and then I'm going to show the traffic and projected 2045 if we build the project. So this is what's shown on your screen now. One thing I want to note, so you still have Scott, Palm, and MLK are still failing. Columbus does get a little worse in the northbound direction, but you don't have a failure across the entire corridor. And then when you look in the southbound direction, you have a level of service B at Florida, Nebraska. You have a couple more D's than you did before, but in the southbound direction, you'll notice that there are no level of service E's or F's. So the traffic doesn't grade as severely as it does in the northbound direction. So I'll switch back to the no build condition. So you see we had a couple of C's, and I'll switch to the build real quick, and you can see that some of those C's turned into D's, but again, not failing in the southbound direction much more than it would with a build scenario. So this is good news. It doesn't mean that the whole roadway is going to just turn into a traffic jam. You get a little bit of less level of service at certain intersections, of course, because you have one less lane, but it doesn't result in a complete system failure. Another aspect of the project improvements we want to do is we want to look at the significant drainage issues along the corridor. This roadway is so old in certain areas that there are just no inlets in certain sections of the corridor. So we're looking to explore and address drainage in coordination with the roadway improvements that will reduce flooding and keep pedestrians dry. This is a pretty good example that you can see the water line on the building, and you can imagine if you're a pedestrian walking along here and a vehicle comes up, I mean, you're completely drenched whether you have an umbrella or not. So this will hopefully be able to take care of some significant flooding issues we have. And the way that we're looking to fund these improvements, especially the drains that I mentioned, we're going to get into that a little bit now. So right now we have construction partially funded in fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026, but that unfortunately does not include any drainage improvements. So what we're doing is we're applying for a U.S. Department of Transportation RAISE grant for fiscal year 2023. So you notice that this not only introduces new funds where we can actually do the drainage projects, this will also accelerate the projects even forward by about 2 years. So that'll have us going to construction in fiscal year 2023. So we're pretty confident we'll be able to score pretty high in this. So we're definitely hoping that we get this so we'll be able to accelerate the project even more. All right, now Cal's going to give an overview of the City of Tampa pilot project.
All right, y'all can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry for being late, y'all. So anyway, in coordination with this, the city was also working on a pilot project for our bus rapid transit. The project limits were from Tampa Street from Twig Street to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and Florida Avenue from Kennedy Boulevard to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We developed this in-house with city resources at the mobility department. Our scope included repurposing general use travel lanes into dedicated bus lanes. With this project, since it was a pilot, this was kind of like a quick build, so we weren't proposing any resurfacing. And we were trying to just basically work within the footprint of the existing roadway. We were proposing to physically separate the transit lane with delineator post and to emphasize it with red colored pavement for transit. Next slide. So I kind of took a couple of snippets from the plans just to kind of show what we were thinking. So I have one for Tampa Street and one for Florida Street. These are just little snippets. They're not representative of the entire project, but they do give a good idea for what they are. So what we're showing here is Tampa Street from Henderson to 7th Avenue. And as you can see, the BRT pilot concept utilized right side running because we're not, like I said earlier, we're working within the footprint of the roadway. So we're just trying to utilize what's already there. Lisa, you look very small right now at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, that just made me laugh. So right there, on this one, the bus lane does end north of I-275 to facilitate that southbound right onto the on-ramp at K Street. The dedicated bus lane in this area there is a separate bike lane as well. So we were working with what we had, like I said, so we kept the bike lane separate. And it's kind of hard to see, but the little yellow posts right there, those delineator posts, the thing that looks like candy cane is just basically a auxiliary lane that is meant to be right turns, and that's where you have conflicts with other vehicles. So anyway, next slide. All right, so for Florida Avenue, the representative section that I'm showing here is from Madison Street to Zach Street. Again, right side running, that's where so they can use current buses, staying within the footprint. In this area, there's some gore areas, some unutilized loading areas or parking areas on the right side of the road. But they are, I shouldn't say unutilized, it's utilized, but we were taking those out. But in order to replace them, we were planning on adding striping to the north side of the road and parking to the north side of the road by taking out, very minor auxiliary lane, a left turn lane that doesn't have a lot of use there. So that's how we were able to move maintain parking on that block, but also have the right side running for the buses. In this area, there is there is a bike lane, but we would have to utilize it for the widths. We'd have to kind of take over the bike lane too. So we're looking at a shared bus and bike lane, and you can see the little sharrow. That's the little arrow there with the bus lane. And I mentioned this earlier, but the auxiliary lane develops for right turns. That's that little candy cane striping. So that in that area, people who want to turn right will will pull over into that lane. All right, next slide. So we are planning a public workshop. It's at the Tampa River Center at Julian B. Lane Park, 402 West Laurel Street, Tampa, Florida. And the workshop is scheduled for Tuesday, September 21st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then I'll turn it back over to Greg for the last slide. Craig, I don't know why I said Greg.
Oh, and just clarify, I think we're going full virtual with that workshop now since of all of the spikes locally, and so look out for the digital invite.
Okay, thanks for that update, Justin. So as Kyle mentioned, the next steps involve that September public workshop. Then also the Fdot later repurposing process that the city of Tampa is engaging with. That's looking to pick up in the fall of 2021 this year. The federal raise grant announcement, we'll find that out in this fall/winter. And then there's going to be continued coordination for the hard BRT study north of MLK. Now I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. On the screen, I have contact information. So again, my name is Craig Fox. I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation. Justin Willits with Hart spoke, and then Cal Hardy with the City of Tampa spoke also. Also, Alana Brazier is with the City of Tampa, and she also has some helpful information too.
I thank all of you for this great report. I see nothing in the chat. Lisa, do you see anything in the chat?
I see something posted in the question box by Ms. Torres. So she's saying, worth noting that bicyclists can use the busway. I've rarely interacted with a bus when cycling from Seminole Heights to downtown. Even with increased bus service, there will not be a bus present along a bike trip. The bus will be ahead or behind, moving at similar speed as the cyclist. Yeah, the bus won't be present all the time, she's referencing. And then we do have some chats now. And you guys are members, so you can unmute yourself and ask yourself, but I'll go ahead and get it prompted. Sarah Hendricks says, can you talk a bit more about the shared bike bus lane? Are there examples from other cities?
Cal, did you want to speak on this? I mean, I can.
I'm not. I know that there are other. This is not just us. They do have other examples of this. I'm not aware of any. Craig, you might know some, but I know that they have. This is not. This wouldn't be the first one. In other words, so this is utilized in other areas.
Yeah, I do know in Pasadena, on Pasadena Avenue, and in St. Pete, and also in South Pasadena, the city of South Pasadena. There's also a project underway with the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, the Sunrunner project, which is doing a similar type of shared bike bus lane. That one hasn't completed construction just as yet. But one thing to note is that buses with typical stops, they travel at around, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but I mean, the speeds can be around like 14 miles an hour depending on the frequency of stops, which is pretty similar to what a bike travels at. Of course, the BRT is going a little faster than that, but sometimes I encounter, if I'm on my bike, I'm kind of hopscotching the bus, and it's not really that bad because bus drivers are professionals, so they're definitely looking out for pedestrians and bicycle users.
Yeah, I will add to the width of the lane is usually a lot wider too. So it's not just like a 10-foot lane in most places. It's a little bit wider, so you do have some space to kind of travel side by side even. But here that is just to let you know, it is a little bit of a wider lane. Anyway, sorry, Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to differentiate between the bus lane pilot concept and then the BRT project. The bus lane pilot concept accommodates the bike because I think we have a little more real estate to deal with, so the bus could pass the bike a little more easily. Some of the sections of the BRT guideway north of this in the more formal BRT project are not likely to be marked for bus and bike. However, those of us who are a little more ambitious will probably be using it for bicycling. But it's really, we know as planners that bicyclists tend to gravitate towards the more low stress facilities. While this will be a massive improvement, in my opinion, for biking on the corridor, even if you're in the bus lane, we know that most of the bike trips are probably going to occur on parallel facilities. That's why we're enhancing Ola and Central, but also putting the shared use path on Tampa Street, particularly on the west side, which will be nice and shaded in the afternoon. Florida Avenue is, even if it had a really, really safe bike route on it, it's not very conducive and friendly to afternoon travel this time of year. I was out there yesterday, actually. So we know that kind of the gravity of bicyclists is going to be off the corridor, but using the bus lane is going to be fine. And then I just wanted to go back to the earlier comment about the speed at which the bus travels. Craig was right. It's generally for urban buses, it's 12 to 14 miles an hour. The average speed for the BRT long-term is hopefully going to be around 18 to 22 miles an hour. That's really dependent on TSP and signal priority and stuff. But between the stop spacing, the bus is going to be going probably 30 to 35, which is the design speed of the actual corridor. I think is planned to be about 35. So you'll get past a lot more, Gina, by this bus than you will on Nebraska. So just keep that in mind.
I put something in the chat as well for the NACTO standards for bus bike lanes. So
oh, great. Yeah.
And there is a lot of literature online too.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We did have a request for a copy of this PowerPoint.
I was going to mention that, Lisa, in just a second, but I think that has been mentioned. Good, go ahead.
Okay. In the chat, Roger had requested it. I wanted to let everybody know our awesome new recording secretary, Gail, who took attendance earlier. She puts links to every single PowerPoint that we see in the minutes as she describes them. So that's fancy and very helpful. So anytime you see anything at a LRC meeting or other committee meetings, you'll find them linked in the minutes after. But I will see if I can't get it to go through by email so you can have it sooner than the minutes are available. And Sarah says thanks. I think the shared use bus lane is a good idea and have multiple alternatives for bicyclists. So that's the last feedback I see.
Again, Mr. Fox, Mr. Willits, and Mr. Hardy, I thank you very much for this. I do have one question. Whereas the density is starting to grow around Tampa and Florida streets, and all these plans are now made for a rapid bus system. At one time, this was Highway 41 and alternate 41. Those designations seems to be going by the wayside as we start getting more and more density and residential coming up and down these streets. Is there any plans on lowering the speed limit to at least 30 miles an hour so we're not going to be having these type of pedestrian accidents in the future?
So the first thing I want to address is that the streets are still going to be identified as US 41, and we're still going to retain them as state roadways. And then as far as the speed goes, yes, we are looking to lower the speed. I don't believe we're looking to lower it as far as low as 30. I think we're looking to do more so 35 right now. And that'll of course be possible once, the lane's taken away. But I'm not sure if we're actually able to lower it all the way down to 30 with that typical section. I'd have to double check on that.
That would be a shame. In the redesign of these sidewalks and the widening of these sidewalks, is there talk with TICO about removing the poles, the utility poles from the middle of these sidewalks?
So that question has come up in coordination with the city of Tampa, mainly in coordination as far as the streetcar goes, because the streetcar is going to have those pantographs that go above. So this talks about burying those, but for the northern part of the corridor right now, we're not engaging TICO and looking at burying those lines, but that's something that we could definitely consider.
All right, my last question, and I'm hearing it more and more from constituents. Is there any plan in the future, especially on roads like this, for no right on red or right on red turn signals only?
With the current plans, we just haven't gotten that far into the traffic signal design to determine that. So unfortunately, right now I can't say yes or no. I know typically we try to look at that in like more so strategic locations, but that'll be after something that we discuss with our traffic operations group. I'll certainly bring that to their attention.
There is one now that I've noticed on Bayshore that is working out very, very well, and it is helping drivers and pedestrians alike. Again, Mr. Fox, Mr. Willits, and Mr. Hardy, I thank you very much for this report. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
We did have one response to Chair Citro's comment about the power lines. Member Emily Hinsdale says a cheaper alternative is to burying the lines is to work with TICO on relocating them outside the sidewalk. So that's another consideration.
Actually, that would be best for all over the city, but my question pertains to this.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there, Arizona.
Yeah, first of all, Lisa, I'm sorry I didn't know we was doing this in virtual. I'm down here in the office. I didn't realize.
Okay, I'm sorry you didn't get the word.
But all this, I live off on the back avenue, and I'm glad to hear that you're gonna move the poles from the middle of the sidewalk. That is gonna be so great. I can't tell you how long I've been waiting to hear that. Because when I go to Ybor, I have to go on the bicycle lane because I can't get around the poles. So that's good. And on Columbia Drive, the wiring of the road, they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job with that. I see it every day. I don't know how long it'll take, but they're doing a good job. Do you know when they're going to the other side of the Columbia Drive? Anyone knows when they're going to the other side?
Of which drive?
The Columbus.
Columbus? Cal,
Yes.
do you know when that will happen?
They should be switching very soon. They're going over, I think, I want to say the last update I got, I think they said about a month away. So I'm thinking within the next three, let's just say within a month, I think they're switching over to the other side for Columbus. You know, you bring up one other thing on this, and I don't mean to belabor a point on the power poles, but the TICO lines on Columbus Drive, if y'all have been out there, we had a last minute switch on the plant life there. There was supposed to be some shade trees, and we had worked with TICO on getting some shade trees in there, and they had accepted it. And then in the on the final submittal, they made us change it back to palm trees. So power lines being where they are, there's a TICO rule for the franchise agreement that's 30 feet of planting within a power line. Well, most of our right-of-ways are 60 feet. So if you have power lines on one side of the street, you basically can't do it. If you have power lines, distribution and transmission on the other side of the street, you basically can't plant anything. And we looked at like crepe myrtles and a bunch of other stuff, but we basically had to go to palm. So if you go out there, it's a great project, but we were hoping to get some shade trees and we weren't able to. But that goes along for that undergrounding more than anything. But Arizona, to answer your question, we should be out there within a month. They should be switching on to the north side within a month. But those new sidewalks are great, though, aren't they?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Well, I can't get on yet. They're not done yet.
Yeah, gotcha. So,
But
but
but they're looking pretty good so far. I
Good
can't
deal.
wait to use it.
Good deal.
Right.
All right, Lisa,
Yeah.
thank you for that question, Arizona. Lisa, you have some good news about the park speed zones.
Yes, I do. So this will be fun. I'm going to present and run the meeting. So, okay, I should be presenter. Okay, got the screen to work. Yay, I get to share a cool project I've been working on. So, and it originated as an idea from this committee. So the Livable Roadways Committee, upon member Marino's request, floated the idea to consider pursuing this in our requests for Unified Plan Work Program projects, and it got approved. So knowing that parks are special places like schools, looking at reducing speeds and making it safer getting to and from our parks. And so, as you guys know, we adopted our Vision Zero action plan, and then it was followed up through implementation of the adoption of the speed management action plan. We're using many of the concepts to as the foundation for this plan, which goes to help us implement those two efforts. Okay, so it was broken down by tasks, and this is an update status report that I'm giving today. And then it'll come back to you with the final recommendations for action this fall. So we went through and looked at all the parks in all 4 jurisdictions of Hillsborough County. So with over 440 parks, we needed a transparent and equitable process to select which ones we'll do the pilot for. And then once we did the selection of the top 3, because that's what we had funded and scoped, and what we're doing with the initial 3 is trying to find some that we can apply all the recommendations then to the remainder of the parks over time. So we're also now heading into public outreach. So that's part of the timing, is to like get you guys to help us with the input on this. And so the last phase will be the countermeasure toolbox, and that's the toolbox that can be applied to the balance of the parks. So lots of parks, lots of data. So we use a data-driven approach to define the types of parks. We had 4 different types of parks, and we wanted different types of parks. So we'd have a variety of countermeasures and a variety of contexts of the park. So 3 were selected. I'll tell you about those next. So the purpose of this study, the 4 types of parks were a local park, which is less than 5 acres, and they tend to be in residential areas where people get there to and from bikes a little bit higher than vehicular. And they tend to have some play structures, picnic tables, etc. There are about 200 in the data set. The next category was the passive regional park, parks greater than 5 acres that have no programmed activities or staff. These are more like a lot of the conservation areas. The contexts were a wide range, not just in the rural areas. Some are in urban settings as well. And a variety of modes we're seeing getting to and from these various parks. And bus service is typically not provided to these passive parks. The active regional park is greater than 5 acres and does have programmed activities and staff. So you'll see these also in a wide range of contexts throughout the different jurisdictions. We had 115 active regional parks to select from. And the last category was a smaller category. It was linear parks. They tend to follow our natural linear features like shorelines and waterways. The most famous, of course, being Bayshore Linear Park in our area. So all told, the park database include 200 parks in unincorporated county, 195 in the city of Tampa, and 23 each in Temple Terrace and Plant City. So I'll go over the 9 evaluation criteria just from a very high level. I will tell you that there's a very detailed report posted on the website that will take you into the weeds of more of the detail on this if you'd like, but here's the highlights. So knowing, as you guys saw our non-discrimination plan update that we're very committed to equity. Equity was a big portion of this, as well as safety. And then we had some miscellaneous other categories to consider in the criteria, and we weighted it with 40 points for equity, 40 points for safety, and then 20 to the other criteria. I'll just hit these so you guys know what communities of concern are. The updated versions of that was one of the factors. If there's a project that Cal Hardy's team or the unincorporated county have investments coming soon, we didn't want to, we wanted to move on to something that wasn't going to get some investment soon. So that was one of the things. If there's prior investment. And then if it's within a half a mile of one of our Vision Zero corridors, that was a factor. The numbers of bicycle and pedestrians killed or seriously injured within a half a mile, proximity to hard braking events. So we have cell phone data that shows us, whether there are braking events, so that helped inform our safety decisions, density of residents, density of jobs, and whether it was in half a mile of another popular community center like a school or library, and then ease of public engagement. So if a park was closed for renovations for something, we would move on to one that we could seek feedback on. Okay, so which ones were they? So in the local park selection, we selected Sulphur Springs Park. It is combined with the River Tower Park, so we kind of got double dipping there. Burrell had a few more points, but it was in a downtown location that made the transportation issues not as widely applicable to the other parks. So we went with Sulphur Springs. In the next category, active regional park, we chose Copeland Park. There were a lot of past planning efforts already done for the University Community Center area. Some of them implemented, some of them coming. So we were like, well, let's move on to some other area that's not gotten as much attention lately. And again, they were very close in score. So, and then in the linear park selection, oddly, Tampa River Rock, scored a bit higher, but we know the context of that, and it does get a lot of attention through other efforts. So we looked at what are our other options. Fremont Park was scored next highest, but it's only a quarter mile long, and that doesn't serve a variety of contexts. And the other two parks happen to be in the city of Tampa. So we're like, oh, let's give our unincorporated Hillsborough an option, because the next step was the Upper Tampa Bay Trail, and it traverses the rural area, suburban area, lots of different contexts, very long trail. So that's the one we tackled. So then we moved into, once we had the three, we went out on our bikes and traveled all around them, and then sent the field team out to do their field inspections and developed existing conditions reports. You can find lots of detail on each of those reports. And again, those are also posted on the website. Here's some of that data you'll see in there with that spackling of, like, we can see who uses the park, your cell phone data. It's helpful. It's anonymous, but it helps us find some good information to help inform our reports. So most people travel from 1 to 3 miles to get to Copeland. There are lots of inconsistent and uncomfortable pedestrian facilities. Even like just the design of the park has the entry feature, like only designed for vehicles. So you're on a sidewalk, but then you have to walk in the driveway to get into the park. So we're like, oh, there's lots of things we can do to improve access to and from these parks. No bicycle facilities connected. And then this one has the additional barrier of a railroad crossing and Fowler Avenue to the north. In Sulphur Springs, you can see the concentration. Who travels to and from this park is much more concentrated in a 1 mile radius of the park. It also has the inconsistent and uncomfortable pedestrian facilities and no bike facilities connecting. We did look at, just peripherally so far, at there's some right-of-way that maybe we could reallocate to enhance those connections, and opportunities have been observed to reduce the speed limits on the adjacent corridors. without impacting travel time. So the last one, Upper Tampa Bay Trail, more of a regional destination. You can see there's not concentrations. It's beloved by everybody all over. More the non-motorized connections can be limited and uncomfortable. A lot of people are getting there from the trailhead, so they're driving, parking, and then riding. So there's more opportunities to connect this and slow the speeds to get to the trail. Okay, and then we really want your feedback, and we want you to help us with all of your great, awesome networks and blast this out. We do have the additional COVID challenges now, so we're doing a little combination of opportunities and trying to, we will meet the CDC regulations as we do this. So we have an online opportunity to do a survey, and then this is an illustration of the interactive web map. So you can see when you get to the page, you can pick the trail or the individual parks or all three to comment. You can even use it on your phone and take snapshots of issues and say, oh, look at this, we have a drainage issue, and upload it. And then that consultant team will help us assimilate all those comments into those toolbox of recommendations. If the website is not something that you want to tackle, then there's just a button on there to do the survey, which just walks you through some quick questions, but it has open-ended questions, so you can enter anything that you think we should keep in mind. Both of those opportunities are also in a Spanish version, so that's on there available too. And then we are going to go out in person and distribute flyers. We're looking to post these sandwich signs along the perimeters and within the park to try to get more people to provide input. I've already reached out to the YMCAs and stuff in the area, so if you we had a suggestion from the TPO board to leave our flyers in the adjacent libraries in the neighborhoods. That's a great one too. So yeah, gonna go out there and blast them. So the one in person one, we thought maybe we could offer up some water bottles, come over, get our survey information, do our mapping. So, all right, that's what we're doing. Here's the website always. If you go to Plan Hillsborough and search for a study or use the drop down like Katrina was talking earlier and click on our current studies, that takes you right to the website. And then you can reach out to me with any suggestions. And please go do it yourselves at the minimum. Please go comment on the project that you guys suggested and recommended. So that concludes my presentation.
That's a wonderful presentation. Is there any questions for Ms. Silva on this presentation?
Oh, let me go over here and see. Okay.
See anything in the chat room?
This is Michael Marino. I just want to make a comment that I don't know if they're both on the line, but Karen Kress and Emily Hinsdale also, I think, contribute to this because of the fact that obviously Emily has her experience working with the sidewalk stompers, and there's a lot of elements to this that kind of build off of school zones. But the other thing with Karen, with her comment, Hillsborough County has done senior zones where in certain areas around high populations of seniors or nursing facilities, nursing homes, they have lowered the speed limit, and it works similarly to a school zone. And so that's where this kind of builds off of. And the staff, Lisa and Allison Ye and a few others at the Plan Hillsborough were very helpful. There are many other cities that do this, and they've been successful at it. So hopefully these first few parks go forward, and we can expand this out to cover every park in Hillsborough County, in the city of Tampa, in Temple Terrace, and Plant City.
Lisa, if you want to get the ADA, the budget of all the parks, you want to contact Raquel Purdo upon the city of Tampa. We did a lot of the study, all the parts about the ADA standards. So you want to get that contact Raquel. Do you know her?
I will make sure I get her info. Thank you for that suggestion. If not, I'll call you and say, hey, help me find it.
Yeah. I'll email it to you later.
That would be great. Then I won't look so hard. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. So
Lisa,
okay.
hang on. Before you proceed to the next subject, David Hay, your question about the franchise agreement with Tico, it can't come soon enough as far as I'm concerned. However, I'm 90% sure that it's in the year 2033. All right, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was that good enough for you, David?
That was very good. Not soon enough, I would agree.
Yeah. Amen.
I have other opinions on that, but I'll share them with you in private, David. All right, Lisa, you're on a roll. Keep going.
Yes, I am. Okay. Guard COVID and Delta. So we had anticipated being in person in our Plan Hillsborough room with all the acrylic petitions taken down by August. That is county centers using the CDC guidelines and making things more strict again, but we have our governor's executive order expired. So we do have the Plan Hillsborough room designed to accommodate 9 people safely. So we did a quick request of the TPO board to revise the bylaws to amend the livable roadways and bicycle pedestrian quorums to 9 to fit that room. So what I'll have to do, if they approve that in September, is our September meeting. I'll get 9 of you to RSVP to be in person so we can meet quorum, and we absolutely have to meet the 9. Otherwise, the whole, the virtual people, we just can't take action and it doesn't count. So anyway, so that's being updated. So hopefully it passes in September and we'll have 9 of you safely in the Plan Hillsborough room. Yeah, and we won't be limited to these virtual workshops. So thanks for that. And then the board acted on the non-discrimination and equity plan that you'd received a couple of previous briefings on the different components of that. It passed unanimously. So it did not come for another time for adoption to this committee because of timing, and you get but all your comments from the previous presentations was folded in and considered in that final version. That leads to the next item, which is councilman's.
Thank you very much for that, Lisa. As many of you know, and some of you that don't, I was pleased to present our very own Arizona Jenkins with the Adelio Valdez Leadership Award for 2021. And again, I want to thank you, Arizona, for everything that you have done, not only for this committee, but for everyone of all ability in the city of Tampa, and for your advocacy in the disabilities area. Arizona, thank you very much for your work, and I hope to be working with you a longer time in the future. Thank you again, my friend.
Thank you. Thank
Virtual
you.
applause.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure working on this committee. This is what we do. We do it because we love to do it. Love it, but I love being on this committee. And everybody on this board is very good with the sidewalks, the roads, and we want to make it better for people as they come up at an early age and for others so they can be safety on the roads. Thank you so much.
Great.
Does anybody want to say anything to Arizona? I see a lot of stuff coming up on chat. All right, Arizona, again, thank you, my friend. Lisa, do we have anything else that we want to bring to the committee before we go to adjournment? Anything, anybody?
Oh yeah, one more thing. One more thing, I forgot to put in the little notes here, is that we're recruiting for this year's Gulf Coast Safe Street Summit. Each TPO, MPO gets to nominate a Vision Zero hero or Bob the Builder award. So we're looking for community members that have done great things to help get us towards zero to nominate. If you go to Gulf Coast Safe Street Summit website, there's a nomination form. I'll send a reminder out, but this is especially important because all of the nominations that we get will come in a future livable roadways agenda packet, because we were dubbed the committee that gets to select the award recipient this year. So get your thinking hats on and start nominating people for that, for this year's award.
All right. Is there anybody that would like to bring something before the committee before we adjourn?
Lisa, I have one question. Are we meeting in the room this month? Or are we doing it at home?
September is anticipated to be 9 people in person, the remainder virtual. I'll keep you appraised.
And then it's gonna be in this room?
Yes, I believe you're in the Plan Hillsborough room right now. So yes,
Yeah,
it's that room.
it looks pretty good. It looks pretty nice. You got mirrors all over the place. Pleasant. Oh, that will be okay. Mhm.
Yeah, when I send out the information, well, I can tell you guys a little bit about it now, so you can start thinking about whether you feel comfortable. And then anybody that has medical issues that prevents them from attending, and I should just not ever count on you being one of our 9, you can communicate those privately to me as well. But the room does have acrylic set up, and I send out pictures. I was all prepared to do that when we were going to meet in person before, of the room. And we have individual headphones and laptops for everybody, and the headphones have covers that are disposable that we toss, and we disinfect the room before and after each meeting. So that's yeah. So if anybody has any questions about that before they consider RSVPing, yes or no, I'm available.
Well, I feel very safe in here. It looks good.
It looks good. All right, you got Arizona's thumbs up. Thank you.
And one more thing, the hotline drop off area here at the county center.
Yeah.
The sign should be in blue, because the color red is you can't see it too good, because you got no parking, and then you got the hotline parking sign right under it. So to make it better for the driver, it should be in blue.
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm going to take you to security and see if we can't get that better, or we'll contact Hart about improving access to County Center from the Hart drop-off. So
Yeah,
I'll come up there where I can hear you better and see you in person right after we adjourn,
okay.
And we'll get that worked out, okay? Because I'm here in the building too, so I'll just come down the hall.
Okay.
All right, if we have noted no further discussion without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.